A popular hit theater play is going to be adopted as a film, but the plans come to a sudden halt when a crew member is killed during a celebration. A detective and a rookie constable are assigned the case, but it seems like finding the culprit is harder than they imagined due to the large number of suspects. In the year 1953, a theater play called The Mousetrap is celebrating its 100th performance in London's West End. The team is planning a movie adaptation of the play, and for that task, the producer Wolf hired an American director named Leo Kopernik. The playwright Mervyn Norris is not very happy with Leo, as he had suggested some changes in the play, and he shows his disliking during the party. Leo is not very fazed by the writer's hostile behavior towards him and just roams around the party, drinking a lot of alcohol. Soon the main leads of the play, Sheila and her lifelong husband, Dickie, show up at the party. Leo is very intoxicated at this point and approaches Sheila, trying to win her over, but he is interrupted by Dickie, who rushes to rescue his wife. They get into a fist fight, but Leo is easily overpowered and has to leave the hall. After washing his clothes in the bathroom, Leo goes into the costume store so he can wear something else. There, he is attacked by a masked man who strangles him to death. Inspector Stoppard is given the case of Leo's murder, and as he goes to the theater to look at the crime scene, he encounters a very chatty constable named Stalker. She quickly briefs him about the victim as they go inside and goes silent when he tells her that it is enough information. During the first round of investigation, Stoppard finds that Leo was killed in the costume store room, and then the killer deposited his body on the stage. He gathers everyone in the hall as they are all declared suspects of murder, including the play's producer, Petula, and Wolf's wife, Adana. Stoppard is still examining the body on stage when Petula approaches him and asks how long it will take for the case to be solved because they want to display the show tomorrow. Stoppard replies that they have to close the theater as a precaution because the killer is still on the loose and there is a possibility that he will attack someone else. When he goes back to the police station, the police commissioner, Harold, says that they can't close the theater due to Petula's strong connections. He informs Stoppard that everyone else is investigating a serial murder, so Stalker will be assigned to the case as his assistant. Stoppard is not very happy with the decision as Stalker is a rookie, but Harold ignores his request, just saying that it is an opportunity for Stalker to learn. They both leave the commissioner's office, where Stoppard asks her if they have the victim's address, and after finding that he was living in the Savoy Hotel, they both go there for further investigation. The hotel manager takes them to Leo's room while telling them that he was not very liked, and the maid refuses to clean his room due to several incidents happening there. When Stoppard asks if any of these incidents got violent, the manager tells them about a heated argument between Leo and the play's writer, Mervyn. In a flashback, it is seen that Leo didn't like the original script and wanted some changes to it, but Mervyn didn't take the suggestion very well, which led to the argument between them, which ended in Mervyn leaving from there after threatening to kill Leo. They also find an address book of Leo with women's addresses in it, and after the manager finishes telling his story, they leave from there. When they go back to their car, Stalker is sure that Mervyn is the killer, but Stoppard tells her not to jump to conclusions as they haven't met the other party yet. The next person they go to investigate is Mervyn, who lives with his hot-headed nephew Gio. Stoppard shows him a torn part of the script they found at Leo's place and asks if he has the other half of it. Mervyn says that there is nothing specific in the script, but Stoppard is not satisfied with his answer and asks him about his threatening words against Leo. Mervyn says that he just said those words under extreme anger and provocation as he had a creative disagreement with Leo. Mervyn gets a flashback in which he was arguing with Leo over the ending of the play The Mousetrap. Leo thought that it was a cliché ending, but Mervyn refuses to change it. 3 weeks after their argument, they disagreed and brought Wolf in to solve the issue. Leo manages to convince him to hear the ending he wants and explains it to them through diagrams, but they both don't like his idea. In the present, Mervyn explains all this to the detectives and tells them that Wolf paid for Leo's apartment when he moved to Savoy. He also tells them about women Leo used to meet, specifically the one he saw while leaving Leo's apartment. He explains the woman's appearance to them, saying she was with a young boy who could be Leo's illegitimate son. They leave Mervyn's house after that, and Stoppard asks Stalker to find Wolf's address, but to his surprise, she already had it. They go to the address, where they wait outside the theater for Wolf to come there. As they wait for Wolf to come there, Stalker keeps talking about her excitement about the case. She tells Stoppard that she wants his help regarding the sergeant exam, but instead of helping her, he leaves the car, says he needs to go to the dentist, and tells her to keep an eye on the situation. Stoppard secretly goes to a nearby pub, while Stalker is still waiting for Wolf to show up. To her surprise, the director shows up sooner than they expected, and when she goes to inform Stoppard about it, she catches him coming out of the pub. They ignore the awkward encounter and instead go to investigate Wolf. They ask Wolf why he paid for Leo's apartment. At first, He just says that it was because he is responsible for taking care of the talent, but when Stoppard asks if it was because Leo had some dirt on him, Wolf reveals that Leo knew about his affair with his secretary Anne and used it to blackmail him. Stoppard tells Wolf to inform them if he finds anything, and then they leave from there. Outside, Stoppard tried to say that he just went into the pub to get rid of the mouthwash as he had a filling in the dentist's office, but Stalker doesn't believe him. Stalker says that she knows she hasn't done anything to impress him, but she didn't ask to be put on this case either, and she is trying hard so he can trust her. Stoppard says that he understands her, and they both go back to their respective homes. The next morning, Stalker is waiting outside the police station for Stoppard, but instead of him, the commissioner, Harold, comes there. Stalker talks to Harold about the play mousetrap and diverts his attention from the detective not being there. When Stoppard finally comes there, Harold tells them that he had a meeting with the Home Secretary and told him that they have good news on the case, so he wants them to speed up their investigation. Stalker tells him that they have a lead as one of the ushers saw the suspect's persona, and they are sure they will find something. After assuring Harold that they will solve the case soon, they both leave there and go to meet an usher named Dennis, who claims that he saw someone suspicious. Dennis just gave them an ambiguous description of the culprit, saying he was wearing a long overcoat with a hat on his head. Next, they go to meet with Dickie and Sheila, who reveals that Leo offered her the lead role in the movie in exchange for some favors. They also find that Wolf had sold the movie's rights to Petuel Spencer. When they go to investigate her in the theater, she reveals that she optioned the Mousetrap film rights to Wolf, but he will be unable to produce the movie as it says in the contract that he can't make a movie until the show has closed. That night they both go to a pub where Stalker says that Wolf must be the killer, and he did that so he could close the theater and start working on the movie, but Stoppard says it can't be true because Wolf wouldn't kill the director if he wanted to make a movie. Their conversation shifts to their personal lives as Stalker tells him that her husband died in the war and she is left widowed with 2 children. Stoppard also shares his story, saying he had an unfaithful wife because she was bearing someone else's child while being with him. Stoppard continued to drink after sharing his story, and Stalker had to take him home. Inside his house, Stalker finds a news article and a picture of his ex-wife. To her shock, his wife's appearance fits perfectly with Mervin's description of the woman he saw at Leo's apartment. She also sees a long overcoat at his place, which leads her to suspect that Stoppard might be the killer. The next day, she searched for his ex-wife in Leo's book and asked another officer for any information on Stoppard, but she couldn't find any useful information. Later that day, they both go to a show of the Mousetrap. After a few minutes of the opening of the show, Mervin leaves the auditorium and is soon followed by Wolf, Dennis, and his nephew Gio. Stoppard is watching all this and goes to leave, but he has to turn back to retrieve his gloves. Stalker is watching all this, and when Stoppard leaves the auditorium, she follows him. When they all go out, the lights suddenly go out, and Mervin encounters a suspicious figure who strangles him to death. When the lights come back on, Stalker sees Stoppard checking Mervin's body. She is sure that Stoppard is the killer and starts to chase after him, knocking him unconscious with a snow shovel just outside the theater. When Stoppard wakes up, he is in a cell with Stalker and Harold, who both accuse him of carrying out the murders. He tries to deny the accusations, but they don't listen to him. Stalker has invited Joyce, the woman Mervin saw at Leo's place, but to her surprise, she is not Stoppard's ex-wife. Stoppard is removed from the list of suspects and silently leaves from there. Stalker is escorting Joyce and her son to their home when Joyce mentions overhearing a man with a village idiot accent. Stoppard decides to read Mervin's research on the Mousetrap, and while reading through it, he realizes the identity of the killer. He rushes to the killer's apartment, and to his surprise, Stalker has already been there and found the necessary evidence against the killer, Dennis. Meanwhile, the team of the Mousetrap arrives at the home of Agatha Christie in Wallingford, Berkshire, as they all receive invitations for dinner. The butlers are startled by their arrival, but Christie's husband, Max, lets them inside. Suddenly, Dennis also shows up there and holds everyone at gunpoint. Petula's mother recognizes him as Dennis Corrigan, an abused child whose brother's death inspired the plot of the Mousetrap. Dennis confesses that he killed Leo and Mervin in an attempt to stop the play and its adaptation, as he is disgusted by the use of his brother's tragedy for entertainment. Dennis had forged the invitation to lure everyone together and had captured Adana, mistaking her for Christie. He starts to grow agitated when he finds out he captured the wrong woman. Soon Christie comes there with tea and also brings a poison cup for Dennis, but Fellows inadvertently drinks it instead. Stoppard had rushed there without wasting any time, and when he reached there, a shootout ensued between him and Dennis. Sheila distracts Dennis with a Molotov cocktail, and Stalker nearly gets shot in order to save Stoppard. The sequence of events matches the ending of the Mousetrap that Leo suggested. Soon Christie killed Dennis with a shovel, and it is revealed that Stoppard got hit during the shootout, but the hit wasn't fatal. Sometime later, Stalker passes her sergeant's exam. Stoppard, who is still recovering, receives the King's Police and Fire Services Medal, and they both attend another performance of The Mousetrap together. As the play is about to end, Stoppard turns to the camera and asks the audience to keep the identity of the killer a secret, as happens at the end of the actual play, The Mousetrap. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe, and turn on the notifications to help the channel out. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.